I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey.
What's up, guys? We are quarantined in Los Angeles, California. Well, I'm actually in Redondo Beach. Where are you at, Al?
I'm in LA chilling in Inglewood, the hood.
Yes. And I'm Jessie Zahner, and we're here to bring you AfterBuzz After Show, The Lion King from Netflix, Season 1, Episode 1, Not Your Average Joe. I'm your host, Jessie Zahner. You can find me all over social media at Athletic. And Al, tell everybody where they can find you.
Hey, everybody, it's your boy, LG. You can find me on Instagram at ALG_Jamaica House Film. And yeah, glad to be doing this Tiger King, man. Tiger King is crazy. It's bonkers. It's like
my gosh,
the #1 show on Netflix, right?
I know. So it's crazy because we've all been quarantined. I saw this show when it first came out a couple days ago, or like almost a week ago, and I instantly got hooked on this show. It is just insane. So we're going to cover today. We're going to do a recap of episode 1, and then after the recap, we're going to do a special segment by Al called Netflix in Quarantine, and then we're going to do some news and gossip about the show. And then you guys can, if you guys like it and you want to join us for episode 2, we'll do episode 2 right after.
And Jess, can I just chime in here about this crazy quarantine?
Yes.
Like you said, crazy times. We're all on lockdown here in LA, the LA area.
Yes.
And like most of the country or most of the world, but we have if you're non-essential workers, no workers, all the parks are closed. It's like I can barely go across the street to buy some food, but I'm ready. I got like my bandana, my breathing mask. I got my
gloves.
I got my spray. I got my little baby wipes,
Oh my gosh.
Lysol. Matter of fact, you guys are looking kind of suspect over there. So let me wipe my skin. I want you guys, infecting me. But yeah, we're holding it down in the live bunker for Netflix and chill, quarantine and chill. Me and my girl Jess again.
Oh my gosh, I know. I love it, Al. That's hilarious. Yeah, so I mean, with this quarantine came this show, the Tiger King, and it's just absolutely insane. So I think what we should do first, in this first episode, they kind of introduced us to everybody. So I kind of want to go through everybody and get your opinion and see what you think of everybody. And the first person we're going to start with is none other than the guy behind me, Joe Exotic, my boy. I mean, the Tiger King himself. What do you think of Joe Exotic?
Oh my God. He is my favorite character, Jess. And let me tell you why. I mean, and he's kind of, obviously, I think he's kind of like the main character. I wouldn't characterize him as a normal protagonist. I kind of can categorize him as an anti-hero because he is so eccentric. Like we were talking about off air. He's just like, ex-recovering drug addict, which I love, but he has like a mullet. He's like the full Southern hick in Miami, and he walks around with his gun, and he's obsessed with tigers and shooting and blowing things up. And then he's got married to his 2 gay lovers. He's just a character. I love him.
He's so interesting. Somebody on the show says that he's completely insane, gay, gun-toting, drug addict, fanatic. And I just thought that was the greatest quote because he is just insane. Like when I started the show, I saw this guy with a mullet. I mean, he even says everybody's gonna think I have a mullet, but I'm like, who the hell is this guy? He's so flashy, but he's incredible. He's shooting things up, blowing things up. He's just insane. And I love him. He's also my favorite character by far.
Yeah. And also too, we got to add too, he has this guy is so into animals and tigers. He did 2 albums just singing about tigers. He has 15 music videos, and he has his own online TV show about his tigers, his tiger show.
Yeah, he has 28 songs, 16 music videos. He's been doing Joe Exotic TV for years. Before the producer Read Me Later comes in, he said for a decade, every day at 6 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And I'm so sorry that I never got to watch any of those.
Oh man, I'm gonna go back and watch it. Last thing, just the reason why I love Joe so much too is, like I said, I characterize him more as the anti-hero. Just because we'll get into later, his nemesis, this lady, Carole Baskin, who owns, Big Cat Rescue, they're already, on a direct collision path. they've been enemies forever, and they have this huge feud, that beef that potentially turns deadly. But the reason why I like Joe is with all his craziness, and he's emotional, and I know I kind of identify with him because he wears his emotions on his sleeves. To me, he's real. He's basically real about his quirks and his craziness, but I don't see one hint of malice in him. I just have, personally, I don't. He's kind guy. Like he hires all his employees are just out of prison. He says he hires them because they can't get jobs, and he hires ex-drug addicts, helps rehabilitate them. And this other chick, Carole, she's just like the total opposite. She's like this, you know, I'm sure she seems like a nice lady, but his adversary, Carole, you know, she's just kind of like this wealthy, you know, suburban Wonder Bread lady, and I don't know, and she has this kind of like holier than thou, and like her whole mission is to bring Joe Exotic down. So and on the one hand, she's coming at it as like she's a purist, like, you know, I'm like the real, you know, conservationist, you know, but like she keeps her tigers in cages too. So I don't understand the difference between them.
Right. So I want to go on to Carole next, but I just want to point out we have a few people in the live chat. Jill Z, what's up? You rap guy. They're both in the chat. Both of them seem to have watched the whole series because they're going a little bit in advance. So appreciate the comments, guys. I don't want to go too far because we're just covering episode 1 right now, but they have all kinds of theories about Joe and Carole and about Joe's singing. You rap guy, he was talking about Joe's singing, which I'm going to I have some news and gossip about actually. So before we get to that, let's move along to Carole. What are your thoughts on Carole of Big Cat Rescue?
Man, like I just only scratched the surface when I said, because she's the more mainstream person, and I guess because I kind of identify more with the eccentric people, more like the outsider. I like what do you call it? Like the underdog. And because they go into her backstory, and Jess, did you see how she was just like this poor, lonely young chick, 21 or whatever, walking the street, kicked out of her house, and she got literally picked up off the street, literally in this truck by this rich millionaire. And then like, she's been rich ever since. Like, isn't that crazy, the whole story about their marriage?
So yeah, so I don't want to jump too far ahead because we will get into her whole story. But Carole, like, I don't know why, but just from the beginning, she pissed me off because I think I automatically love Joe. Like, he is my boy, right? So I'm gonna be loyal to Joe all season. I don't care. Carole is just crazy, you know. So her thing is she works at Big Cat Rescue, which is down in Florida. She wants to end captivity of wildcats. So I was wondering, like, what's the difference between what she's doing, you know, at Big Cat Rescue and what Joe's doing at GW Zoo? But here's what she says. What sets her apart is she fixes the problems and she wants to end captivity of wildcats. She doesn't believe cats should be in cages, but the reason that she has cats in cages is basically because Joe and Doc and all them are breeding these cats for their financial gain, and she's taking them until they die.
That makes no sense to me. You know, have you seen that Twix commercial where like, well, we're the left Twix and, you know, we roll like Twix left, and we're the right Twix and like we twist ours. I don't know, but it's like, it's basically the same thing. Honestly, Jess, I'm gonna say you and I are on the same agreement with both of them, but you know what it is? Straight up, my opinion, Carole's just a straight up hater. She's just a jealous, rich, spoiled, entitled hater. Like, I feel like she wants to shut him down because she wants all of his business and wants all of his tigers low key. That's just my opinion.
I know. Why can't we just all get along and like not have any issues here? We have a bunch of people in the live chat, and I'm just asking you guys in the live chat, whose side are you guys on? Are you guys on Team Joe or Team Carole? I'm curious. So that's Carole's story. You know, she's crazy. Her husband says she's the Mother Teresa of cats, which I thought was really funny.
Her new husband, though, right?
Oh, her new husband. You're right.
Yes.
Exactly. So the other big character in this show is Boglavon Doc Antle in Myrtle Beach at Myrtle Beach Safari. What do you think of Doc?
Oh man, like Doc's a pimp. Doc's the love guru. He's got like 5 wives living on his, you know, compound cult. He is fucking crazy.
So you like Doc then? You're a
I
fan of
like
Doc.
Doc, and and here's where obviously, like people like that, they're going to be suspect and get a bad rap, and you should take a look at somebody if they quote run a quote cult. This is what it is for our audience knows. For the people who don't know, he has this more upscale rescue, and but he and Joe are friends. But what he's done is he's like this. I guess he's part Indian, like East Indian, and his dad was like a guru. So everything he does is based on like Eastern religion and that philosophy, and like they all pray, meditate, and chant, and it kind of goes in line with their whole like free love reeling, at least the way he explains it. If you touch him, then you get enlightened. So the women want to touch him so they can get enlightenment. But more importantly, I think all the women are there of free will. It's like if I felt like somebody, was there against their wishes, that wouldn't be cool. We should sick the law on them. But the girls can come and go as they please. But low key, truth be told, they're all there because those girls needed a home. That's my feeling too. They were kind of broken people who needed like help.
Yeah, so it's kind of like you said. Doc is a little bit smarter, more sophisticated, fearless. That's what Carole's husband says about him. And he believes that he's really popular and well known. And because he's so well known, everybody wants to take him down. He thinks very highly of himself. Joe basically learned from him. Joe's like obsessed with him, right? But yeah, I mean, he grew up like cowboys, had animals around him all the time. I think one thing that he says that's very interesting is, so him and Joe do this thing where they have like these little baby cubs, and they let people come up and pet them and take pictures with them. And his whole theory is, if we let them into, give people time with these animals, they'll let them into their hearts, and then their wallets will open up to pay for this. And he's talking about some like crazy amount of money that you have to pay to go see that safari, like over $300, sometimes $600. It's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it is a business. And the thing is, him and Joe both make business. I mean, they make money. I think one of them said even on a sliding scale, like the more people, the price goes up, which is kind of weird.
Right. Yeah.
And also, like, you could take pictures with the animal and they charge us for the pictures. So, I mean, considering these animals cost like thousands of dollars to feed a day, I guess I don't have a problem with it as people willing to pay it. That's the fair market price if people pay it. But what was I gonna say about about the whole like capitalist Marxist thing versus are they exploiting? I don't think I don't see any of them exploiting the animals, because I think what Carole was trying to allude to was like, they shouldn't be taking pictures with them and people shouldn't be petting with them because it's taking advantage of them. So, but I mean, because there's so few refuge for these animals, all of them are in danger. Like there's very few forests left. Like the tigers are in danger. So they're like, the numbers are dwindling. So I think it is kind of a form of marketing. If you can promote them and people take their picture and come see them and pay for them and they can afford to breed them. And I think that's good PR, because there's no place, all the space we have for tigers is running out. So I think it's good for people to interact with them. There's also a theory where people say you shouldn't domesticate wild animals because they weren't meant to be that way. And, obviously they should fear human beings, not put their guard down, which I think an element is true. But again, there's so little wildlife places for them. I'm thinking it's more of a net positive. I think they're more saving the species. But, what do you think?
I mean, guys, Al's about to move to Myrtle Beach and join Doc and be his like marketing guy or something. But
I hear him.
You know what? It's so funny that you say all this. It's really interesting. I don't really know what is best for tigers, because I don't know anything about tigers. I mean, I love them. They're cool. But I thought it was really interesting. They said at the beginning of the show, they said that there's more captive tigers in the US than are wild in the world. And I thought that was so interesting because in a later episode, in episode 2, which we'll get to after this, one of the guys, Tim Stark, he says that one thing that we should do is instead of, when an animal is endangered, instead of, you know, letting them die, we should, you know, create more of them. So these guys want to breed these animals. Joe, you know, Carole thinks Joe's doing it for financial gain. She thinks it's abuse that these tigers are out with people and being pet and everything else. So
But
she
yet,
doesn't like that.
but yet she's still charging money too to keep them in cages. I mean, I don't know. I'm interested in to hear what our audience thinks, people in the chat, because you
Yeah.
outlined a good counterpoint. So there's two sides to this, you know, preservation argument. And I'd like to hear what people think in the chat and who's actually the true preservationist and who's actually, you know, more exploiting what they think.
Right. Speaking of the chat, we have Jill Z saying she's Team Joe versus Team Carole. We have Gabriel Lovin, also Team Joe. And then Julie Shreve says, why are all the characters so sketchy but so lovable at the same time?
Exactly.
It's so crazy. At the beginning of the show, the one guy says, the big cat people are backstabbing pieces of shit. They are so interesting though. Like I just love Joe. So I'm still Team Joe.
And guess what, Jess? I mean, I'm sure they've all done like, it's kind of like if they have their own little community. And so I'm sure they all done like some shady shit to each other. You know, it's like where, I don't want to say, you know, like everybody at AfterBuzz is really cool, but sometimes different podcasters from different networks, they just do weird shit. So they all know each other's business. It's so intertwined, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it is so crazy because they do know each other's business, but they're like all over the country and they like, it's just crazy. And it gets crazier after, you know, a couple episodes, but just going forward with some of the other characters we meet in this episode, we meet Sheriff Rhodes, who is he's the sheriff of the Gavin County in Oklahoma. And he just talks about Joe, about how it's been nonstop with Joe. Like the people in the community are always calling saying, Joe did this, Joe did that. The zoo keeps them up at night. Joe files like 40 to 50 police reports. He thinks he's paranoid. He brings up the whole thing where he says it's going to be like Waco if somebody like comes in his property and like tries to take over.
That's the crazy side of Joe. You know,
I know.
And here's the thing. Just because you're a little bit crazy, which he is, doesn't mean they aren't trying to come get you.
Right. Well, that's what Sheriff Rhodes says. He's like, he reported like he has 40 or 50 police reports, but people are actually trying to get on his property.
Jump on his property, videotape, steal. PETA, we know, and here's the thing, PETA, it's a perfect time to bring up. I have no problem with PETA per se, but I don't like the more sensational stuff like throwing blood on people. But that's like his main nemesis between him and Carole. Carole got allied with PETA, so it kind of like triples her support network and media. But they do a lot of stuff, I think, which is, you know, really borderline. Like Joe actually called the police and had a PETA guy arrested because he was trying to sneak on his property and like trying to take pictures. So I have, you know, I have mixed feelings about PETA. So that's what I'm saying. Just because Joe's crazy and gun-toting oddball and says Waco shit, he shouldn't be doing that. But it doesn't, like I said, just because he's paranoid doesn't mean he's not totally crazy. People are trying to fuck with him.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because like I would have no idea that there were so many people after these guys. Joe said he has to wear like a bulletproof vest anytime he leaves the zoo, and they have like all the security. And Doc said like similar things too about security.
Just the animal rights people are crazy. They try to kill each other, literally, or they do whatever they can and try to poison each other. This is a whole world I didn't know about. And then kind of imagine like, you know, if you have like, I don't know, some crazy troll on the internet and maybe they're troll or maybe the thing is politics. They go overboard for the left or the right, Democrats or Republicans. You have people like that in the animal world who are constantly thinking of ways to subvert. Like Joe, they would follow Joe literally from state to state. He would leave the state and they would get in a car and follow him and see where we go and then call ahead and cancel. I mean, like that's a whole other level that's beyond perseverance to me. That's a whole level of obsession to me.
Yeah. So we have Jet Set Girl in the live chat. She says Carole is a hypocrite. She makes money just the same. And she started off as a breeder. She just saw the writing on the wall and knew she could be the last one standing as a conservationist. Yeah, so I heard that as well, that she started off, she sold like a bobcat, and then she saw that bobcat like come on the market again later or something like that. So she was selling cats early on.
Totally. And
Yeah.
just what was the name of the Scarface guy? I'm trying to think of his name.
Oh yeah, Mario. We'll get to him because he comes in next episode. It's kind of hard because I know like I binged the whole series right away. So, and I know we have a bunch of people in the live chat. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Seriously, like you make this so much fun for us because we love this show. But they're skipping ahead and asking, do you think Carole did it? And in episode 1, if people are following along with the after show, we don't know yet what Carole's accused of doing. So I'm not ignoring your guys' comments. I have a lot of thoughts about what Carole did or didn't do, and I'm so excited to talk to you about it, but we're just gonna have to wait till we get there. So we're still kind of just going through season 1, episode 1. A few other characters I just wanted to bring up really quick before we move on to Al's segment is John Finley we meet in this episode. He's Joe's husband, his first husband. Well, actually, he was married before this, I believe, but the first husband that we know of. And he met Joe a month out of high school, and he was with Joe from 2003 to 2014. And a bunch of people are saying like they didn't really think that John was gay. What do you think of John?
I love the thing when he recruited one of his boyfriends. He was like, "Hey, you ever watch gay porn?" And the guy's like, "No, I'm straight." And he's like, "Well, do you watch regular porn? Do you like the guy with the big dick or the little dick?" Excuse my language. And the guy was like, "I guess I like watching porn with the guy with the big penis." And then Joe's all, "That means you're gay, just like me."
Yeah, that's, oh my gosh. So that's Travis. We also meet Travis in the second episode, but John's his first husband. So going back, because we have Jet Set Girl, she must be a huge fan of the show because she's bringing up all kinds of stuff. She's talking about when Joe drove himself off a bridge as a kid. Because we do learn that at 13, Joe found out he was gay, like he realized it, and he went to tell his dad, and his dad was like, "Don't show up at my funeral." Joe got really depressed. He, I guess, was going to kill himself, so he drove himself off a bridge, broke his back, and he went to Florida to do rehab. And when he was there, his neighbor owned this safari and would bring like baby monkeys and stuff home to bottle feed them, and Joe kind of fell in love with exotic animals at that point. So thanks for bringing that up, Jet Set Girl.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, personally, I guess I don't want to say I'm not necessarily drawn toward damaged people. I'm drawn toward eccentric people. But when I hear people like that, he has my compassion. Imagine being like a gay guy when he's young, and maybe it's the 80s and 70s, but he couldn't, the household he came from was conservative, so he couldn't be out there. Like his dad's basically saying, "Don't even show up at my funeral, I'm disowning you." Like imagine how like you had to repress that in the self-hate. So that's why I kind of I empathize with Joe and his story.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So yes, we both empathize with Joe. I think a lot of our viewers or listeners are on Team Joe right now. So we meet John. That's his first husband. Another guy we meet this episode is John Rinke. He's going to play a big role throughout this series. I'm a huge fan of John. What did you think of the manager of the GW Zoo?
He's cool. I like all of them. It's hard to keep. Is he the one with no legs or the fake legs?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yep.
Everybody there's a character. And then the girl who got her arm bit off, it was funny. It was supposed to be a scandal. She was a worker there, but she reached her arm, I guess, and the tiger bit it. But like, she still works there. She's like, "I fucked up. Yeah, I shouldn't have put my arm in there, but it was just a bad day. But I fucking love this job. I love animals." And so like,
right.
Enemies tried to exploit that, but like she came out on the news and saying like, "Yo, it wasn't her fault."
Right. Yeah. So that comes up in the second episode, which we will talk about, guys. Right after we do this episode, we're going to come back with an episode 2 and discuss that as well. So, and that's Saf. She's one of the staff members there at the GW Zoo as well. So yeah, I mean, the first episode, we just really get to meet a cast of characters. We get to know Joe really well, Carole, Doc, and then we kind of meet, Rick, the producer, the sheriff, Rinky, just a bunch of people that work there. And I actually am with you, Al. I really like everybody that works with Joe. But yeah, I mean, so just overall thoughts after the first episode. How are you feeling? What do you think?
Overall thoughts is I'm hooked. I'm totally hooked. You had texted me about the show, and then all of a sudden I was seeing people talking about it online, and it's currently the #1 show on Netflix, which is a big deal because they have a lot of good shows. It's the #1 show on Netflix, and I think the reason it's so popular because you think like, oh, something just about tigers and animal rescue. No, like any good documentary, it's about life, it's about people, sex, drugs, murder, all that.
Right. I know. I instantly got hooked as well. That's why I binged it the first day that I saw it. And I'm so excited to be here on AfterBuzz TV talking about it. So that's basically it for episode 1 of season 1. And now we're going to go to Al G's segment, which is called Netflix and Quarantine. Al, take it away.
Thank you, Jess. It's time. We're all locked down here. We're calling this segment, instead of Netflix and chill, we're calling it Netflix and Quarantine. Okay, I got my baby wipes here, and my gloves are here. And so, while we're all on this lockdown, I think it's a good time to trade wild animal stories. Like, we're living in the zombie apocalypse, and we've seen all these wild animals, at Joe's Zoo. But the reason I'm talking about being quarantined with the wild animal is because it relates to the theme of the show. And then sometimes people can be the wildest animals. But in getting back to a specific story, here's my crazy story of the week. In light of the zombie apocalypse, I'm going to talk to you about zombie ants. So, ants trapped in an abandoned nuclear bunker in Western Poland devoured their dead to survive. They were in quarantine. According to a study published in November, in 2015, researchers first stumbled on the cannibalistic ant colony scuttling across the floor of a Soviet military bunker near the German border. Several thousand worker ants had fallen through a pipe in the bunker ceiling and were unable to clamber out. On inspection of dead ant carcasses found on the floor, scientists discovered that gnaw marks coated the insects' abdomens. But this gruesome tale does have a somewhat happy ending. The researchers installed a ramp for the ants to escape, and when the team returned a year later, most of the ants have gone. But ants who are on quarantine, like us, they will eat their own. And they have never heard of ants doing that in the past, as far as like devouring other ants in their abdomen. But when trapped, push come to shove. So just that's why I'm like out here ready for the zombie apocalypse. Things go, Lord of the Flies up in here. I'm ready.
Oh my God. I love it, Al. That's great. Do you have any quarantine stories yourself? Any crazy quarantines that happened to you?
Nothing yet. It's just I tried to go visit my parents because they're elderly, and I'm fortunate that they live in Los Angeles too. But like they literally wouldn't let me in the house. I'm like, hey, I just want to come say hi. They're like, no, go away. And I was like, I just want to say hi. They're like, did you wash your hands? And then I was like, yeah, I washed my hands. But literally, some people are so paranoid, and I get it because the elderly are more susceptible to the virus. So I get it, but like they wouldn't let me in the house.
Well, guys, if you enjoyed the segment, on social media or in the comments below, hashtag Netflix and Quarantine. Tell us your craziest quarantine story, and we might feature it on another episode of the Tiger King After Show and AfterBuzz. So moving right along, I want to get to the last segment before we switch over and move on to episode 2, which is news and gossip. Guys, I'm about to blow your mind about Joe's songs, because in this season, we see all this stuff about Joe singing. We see these music videos and everything. But if you guys didn't hate Carole enough, you're going to hate her more now after I tell you what's going on. So Carole right now says she really has proof, she says, that Joe never wrote or sang any of his songs. She said that Joe paid a man named Vince Johnson $7,000 per song to write and perform all of Joe's country hits. And then Vince's voice was just blended together with Joe's. So
He's trying to say he's like Milli Vanilli. It's a scandal.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I feel so bad for Joe because, like, this woman says, like, when next episode we'll talk more about security issues and like how scary it is to be a big cat owner. But she's like, I'm afraid he's gonna come after my family, and then she ends up, which you guys will find out later, going after his family. She's going after his zoo. Now she's going after his songs. It's like, just let Joe be Joe.
It just goes to show like how petty she is. But, and you know, to Joe's credit, he's gotten just as petty, but I think all of us are on the same page that he didn't choose this fight, that she initiated this kind of hypocrisy. But yeah, it's bonkers. it's crazy. And I'm going to go download some of Joe's music right now.
Yes. Well, guys, that's it for season 1, episode 1 of The Tiger King on AfterBuzz TV. I'm Jessie Zahner. You can find me all over social media at Athletic. I'll tell everybody where they can find you.
Everybody, your boy Al G. You can find me on Instagram at AlG_Jamaica House Film. So hit us up in the comments of the YouTube video. Hit me up on IG, follow me, and Jess. Oh, and also we're going to be doing an IG live later, right? Possibly?
Yeah,